everybody, welcome to our second YouTube video. The idea for the YouTubes was that we were going to give you a behind the scenes where we're going to tell you a bit about the charity, and we're going to have interviews and talk to our partners. This week we celebrated the Showmen's Mental Health Awareness Week. So rather than this be a sort of pre-recorded thing that we done, which is how we'll normally do these, we actually went on live on Facebook, which is a bit nerve-wracking, but was really, really good. And we had Sheldon Chadwick, who is the chairman of the Showmen's Mental Health Awareness Charity. We had him there. We were talking about the projects we've done together. And we also had his trustee, Samantha Heason, who was great. And this is what you're about to see. Of this was that we were wanting to get together and just celebrate all the work that your organisation's done in the last year. So it's been amazing and you've achieved so much. And I think I'm saying the last year, this is your second anniversary, I think. Is it, Sheldon?
Yeah, this is our second anniversary. So we will be 2 years old on Saturday. So it's exciting.
It's very exciting. And then I would say that we've at least worked together with the sort of mental health sort of education projects for at least a year and a half of that. So we've done a lot of different things that obviously we'll talk about tonight, but it seems a bit unreal that it's been for as long, and love to hear more about sort of the impact that it's made on people's lives, because obviously you're hearing all the time about people who are sort of working with the charity and accessing services. But do you want to like maybe sort of will we introduce ourselves a wee bit first before we get into that?
Yeah, I think just before I do that, I think it's just really important just for me to kind of say a massive kind of sorry to everybody who was supposed to be attending the event tonight in Manchester. And, you know, we unfortunately had to cancel that event, but there will be more events in the future. I think it's just a bit of a funny time of year, and you know, a lot of showmen on holiday, and a lot of different things happening, and yeah, basically, unfortunately, we just had to kind of look what was going to be best for the charity on that night. But we are really sorry for all the people that did buy the tickets, and we really appreciate, you know, everybody that did, and they will be refunded as well. So.
Oh, of course. See, listen, these things happen, and I think we know better than anybody the amount of things that's happened throughout the last year or so doing these events, that things pop up and things change. And sometimes when something's cancelled or delayed, it actually, you see how much better it was that it happened at a different time and date. Like, it actually ends up being a really good event after it's rescheduled. But yeah, so we've got Samantha here with us tonight as well. And do you want to introduce yourself a wee bit, Samantha?
Yes, I'm Samantha Heason. I'm one of the.
Can we just check something? Sorry, before we do, Samantha. Oh, it has changed. Okay, it is changing. I just didn't know if it was changing from person to person. Sorry, Samantha. Do you want to introduce yourself again? Sorry.
Yes, I'm Samantha Heason, and I'm one of the trustees of the charity. I think that's since about summer last year, isn't it? Now time goes quickly, and I got involved through a higher education equality network that both Sheldon and I are in. So we met through a mutual contact, and I was helping out with odd things behind the scenes, and then was invited to come on board and try and help a bit more with however I can bring my skills and experience to the charity.
Brilliant. And what's so, for anybody, I suppose, that doesn't know the structure of the charity, are there like trustees that sit on like a board that help support and run the charity? Like, how does that work?
So yes, there are a number of trustees, with me being the last one to join. I'm not quite sure how other people became part of it, but we do try to share the workload out between us all. I must admit, Sheldon takes on a lot, and we need to help him out with that a bit more between us. So, for example, I'm helping out with things like the website and some of the social media, although we do have a social media person as well employed by the charity. And then other people do events and so on. So
Yeah, so how, Sheldon, did the charity get started originally? Like, how did people start coming together to how did you, what made you want to do this, I suppose?
Um, so it got started through a series of phone calls, basically. It was during the pandemic, and yeah, it was on the 21st of January. And as we know, January is a difficult month for Showmen. It's kind of our rest month as well. And during the pandemic as well, it was it was a difficult time for us all in different ways. But basically, numerous things really. The charity. What I wanted to kind of, well, I wanted to be able to create create an organization, or create a space where people could share and people could talk openly about mental health, and fundamentally help support each other. So I've suffered myself with anxiety, depression, diagnosed with ADHD. And basically, I'd experienced a lot of those things, and also I'd lost, friends as well in the community, showmen, that we all know and love, and really it came about through that, through wanted to break the stigma surrounding mental health, and basically create a service and a place where people could come and get help directly, and for people to know about who the community are as well, in terms of when accessing that care as well. So yeah, it came about through phoning 7 of my mates, and then we started a Facebook page, and then from the Facebook page started a GoFundMe. From the GoFundMe, we had lots of showmen do lots of videos that kind of, it began to kind of snowball, and it was just amazing, in the beginning, so many people just sharing the stories, and it really kind of opened my eyes just to, what people experience and go through. And then from the GoFundMe, I was able to kind of structure the charity so it works in 3 different areas. Basically, we work with mental health services. We have 2 private nurses. So we have an adult nurse and a child nurse that work with the charity. We offer 12 sessions of therapy for any one individual throughout the country who are showmen, and and that can be extended to 20 sessions based upon the therapist recommendations, and we also offer private diagnosis. So our nurse does screenings. So basically, it's a simple kind of process where our nurse, somebody contacts the charity, they go directly either directly to the nurse, or they come through, may that be a trustee, may that be a mental health liaison officer that we'll talk about later on, and then they go directly to the nurse for a screening. And the screening is basically for the nurse to be able to determine the best kind of pathway for anybody to be put on. So may that be, okay, somebody suffering with depression, what kind of therapy would be best for this person? Or if somebody has been on a waiting list for autism for a long time, okay, let's try and fast track that, and let's get them into a private clinic and get them set up with an autism assessment. So that's kind of the what the nurse does in terms of screening. And she basically then we started our backup service as well, which kind of does follow up. So she started a follow-up service as well, so to start following Showmen up. So as we kind of as we grow as a charity, and like the hours grow for the nurses, you know, we can add more services and as well, you know. I'm just thinking now, it's crazy, isn't it? I'm absolutely, I've been driving back from Cambridge. I'm a bit knackered, so bear with me if I have a little bit of brain fog. But yeah, so we also operate in so we offer mental health services. So over the last 19 months, until, you know, our birthday now, we've had over 100 referrals to the charity. So that's over 100 showmen we're able to either signpost or get on direct pathways with therapists and counselors. You know, and that's, you know, there's over 20 formal diagnoses as well that we've been able to get people. And yeah, it's the service is building, and we're learning more and more in terms of what we can do to be better, you know. And thankfully our nurse will be working more days because of demand coming up next month. So we're really, you know, we're really trying to build the service out further. And then on top of that, really, we do education like mental health education. So, you know, that's kind of where our partnership came together. And, you know, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about the mental health trainings that we do as well.
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to go through all of it, really, do a bit of a walk down memory lane, and just not even think about, because I was just thinking, how did we get started? Where did it come from that we started as a partnership? But just wondered, if you don't mind me asking one question before we move on. In terms of like funding,
Yeah.
you've had over 100 referrals. For an individual person seeking to sort of get those 12 sessions with a therapist, or seeking to have like a formal diagnosis, what's the kind of cost breakdown of that, just so people are aware of what goes into it?
Okay, so if we're looking at the average therapy cost, okay, so that's probably you know, from 40 to 70 pounds for any one individual, depending on what kind of support the person needs. Also, in terms of, may that be there's different types of therapy that are a bit more expensive as well. And, you know, there is, of course, then the psychiatric assessment. So an autism assessment could be anywhere from 2,000 to 2,900 pounds. And a ADHD assessment is, can vary really between 1,200 and 1,600 pounds. And then, you know, a full psychiatric assessment, because what we, you know, they're roughly, it depends really where we can get them in, where we can get the person in, you know, fast enough, or where the availability is. So we're partnered up with 4 different private clinics. So, you know, we have agreements in place with all these clinics. Basically, all the clinics give us discount as well, because we are a charity. So I work really hard to build these relationships with these private clinics. You know, you've got clinics like Optimize Healthcare, Sanctum Healthcare, Simplicity Healthcare. And these are specialized clinics with doctors who specifically do formal diagnosis. But it's not only just then the formal diagnosis. If somebody then has to have a follow-up appointment, you know, say for ADHD, okay, so you may need 3 follow-up appointments if you have an ADHD assessment, for then that to become shared care with the NHS. So it's not only just the assessment, it's the follow-up appointments as well that kind of are needed for that person then to be able to get, if they're on medication with the NHS, and such as, and also like autism assessment, what like kind of comes after that, and how we continue to help and support. So say we do a full psychiatric assessment of somebody and they get diagnosed with depression and anxiety, then we will go, okay, this is your diagnosis, right? We're going to find a therapist who specializes in these areas that you need support, and then we get people on that pathway. See, the thing is, with an ADHD assessment, you can be waiting up to 3 years on the NHS. And yeah, with us, it's a really, really fast turnaround. You see, for therapy, it's 2 to 4 weeks. See, it's quite interesting because people don't realize it's with therapy. Even on the NHS, you could be waiting 3-4 months just to be seen, okay, by a person, okay, a counsellor, and then your sessions will be limited to a certain number. Okay, how many sessions can you get, Sarah, within like a university setting? How many sessions?
I work at a university, just so that people realise why you're asking that question, and we through an employee assistance program, we can get 6 sessions in to start with, and then it can be extended to another 2, so that's 8 sessions. And then if you were to be referred again, it technically has to be for a new instance, which in some ways enables you to work around it, but it's still 6 to 8 sessions. So it's the fact that we offer 12 up to 20 is really good.
Yeah, and it's and then not only that, it's finding the therapists as well who have the availability. So a lot of the time Sarah will say, okay, we need a therapist who specializes in this, say it's, I don't know, Newcastle, and it's got to be within 100-mile radius, or a 10-mile radius, or a 5-mile radius, or whatever like that. And she has to find those therapists. We have to find those therapists, and then she liaises with them. We've got a big database of therapists as well that we work with regular as well, but a lot of the time it's like finding new therapists as well. It's finding those therapists and being able to break down kind of who the charity are, what our processes are, how our policies kind of run. Then if that person's time fits the person who's come for help, and all that kind of stuff. So it's more complex than just somebody's been referred, somebody's been screened, now you have to find the right person. That's quite an interesting one. One of the things that's we do as well is we're trying to do more stuff like trainings and different things like that for organizations, but still that's an area that we need to get into more and develop more, so there's more kind of awareness based around that. Sorry, I feel like I'm rambling. Am I rambling?
No, I asked the question. It was good to hear a wee bit more of what's going on, like behind the scenes, and what you need to what it takes to do this, and the effort that you put in and that other people have put in, and how much it's needed, and for how much it helps people. And I was just thinking there, so looking at sort of been over here in my calculator, looking at like the cost of things, and thinking about fundraising and how funds come into the charity. You're talking £840 per person for just if it's around £70 for their full sort of 12 sessions. Am I right? Am my maths okay? I've never been good at maths. But
Well, yeah, it also, of course, you know, it costs money for the screening as well. You know, costs money for the screening to actually take place as well for that initial contact. And then, of course, the follow-ups as well on top of that. So, you know, we say really on an average, you know, from £1,000 to £3,500 per person, really. Yeah.
Well, what came to mind there, and I think it's worth saying before we move on, is that we've had some fantastic people who have done a lot of fundraising for your charity, and it's been people from within the community. We've had like yourself and two other showmen do a 3-peak challenge right at the start of the year, and I think, how much did you raise for that?
I think we raised around about 12,000, I think, if that's about right.
And then I know that even in the very beginning there was a good amount that people had raised from doing lots of sponsored walks, and spoke to someone who'd really steered that through in the down in Wales. And so, and then obviously we had somebody, there was I can't think of the gentleman's name that done the walk from, was it Hull Fair to Nottingham?
All the way around, so James Henry, wasn't it, from Nottingham to Hull,
From Nottingham to Hull. And I think that it was about 14 that he had raised.
Yeah, and then of course the auction as well at Hull raised around about £25,000, which was absolutely phenomenal, you know, and the, you know, the effort they put in, and the effort James Henry put in, and then the effort, you know, just anybody puts into fundraise, it's massively, you know, it's massively helpful, and we really, you know, we really need it, because the charity is growing. The charity is growing bigger, and really, you know, my job that I do is a full-time job, you know, and I say this quite a lot now. It's a full-time job, and I've never, I've always, my time has always been voluntary for the charity. I've never taken any money out of the charity, you know, but realistically, you know, moving forward, you know, to kind of to build the charity further, you know, this is a full-time job. And not only that, you know, the nurses we have really need to be full-time as well. You know, they really do need to be full-time, because not only, you know, do we help adults, we help children as well. And so it's a massive age range, you know, and we've helped, you know, numerous children in different areas. May that be, getting therapists, or getting, private diagnosis as well. And then, you know, with the adults as well, you know, it's because it's more consistent. It's trying to, you know, making sure Sarah's got these times boxed off, you know, and making sure she's able to see people. Sometimes people don't realize, you know, it's, if you average it out, okay, if you average it out from, you know, from Central Council last year, this time last year, okay, there was something like 27 referrals. You know, today we're on, I think it's 109. Okay, so from 1 year, you know, if you average that out, it's roughly about 1.6 people a week. Okay, because it's around about 80. Sorry, I need to write it down, do the maths, but 80 people. Okay. So it's at least one person a week, but, you know, more in different times coming to the charity, you know.
Yeah, and just to say, just in terms of, so what would that, so that's what, nearly 2,000 a week that you need, never mind your overheads, never mind any other expenses to run the charity?
Yeah, it's well, I don't.
You're talking rough. It's hard to do
the
that.
maths. I can't just do the maths like that. Our accountant would tell you better, because of course we our books will be published soon with our amazing accountant Catherine, who has just finished them off. So I just finished a report off as well that goes alongside the accounts to kind of break down everything as well that we've done this year. So, you know, it's simple things, you know, it's the replying to emails, it's working with the organizations that we, you know, we need to work with. It's the communication between, you know, the different things like the you know, all the liaison officers, communication, you know, with between the nurses. It's a massive operation, really, you know, not also thinking then about, right, well, we need to raise money now because if we don't, then people won't be able to get help, you know, and it's stuff like that. Right now, thankfully, due to, you know, to Hull and from Newcastle, and everybody kind of pulled together from the, you know, the community, we're in a really good place, but still not a place that you know, we'll be lucky to get to the end of the year. You know, that's where we're at, really.
Yeah.
So what I've been doing is working on funding bids. So I worked with a man called Nick, who is with Social Impact, basically, and we put in our first funding bid to the National Lottery to get support there just before Christmas. So that'll be 10,000. Then there's stuff like I've been working with different NHSs, you know, so it's the communications with, you know, the different NHS as well. And on top of this, of course, I am doing my doctorate based on building the statistics, you know, the first kind of specific Showman's mental health statistics, which of course takes up a lot of headspace as well. So it's, you know, it's difficult to juggle, you know, but it's the most, you know, fantastic thing, you know, to be involved in and to have the conversations that I, you know, constantly have, and just the, you know, just being able to be open and honest and talk open and honestly to, you know, the Showman family, really, isn't it? Because we are one big old family, you know. I mean, I know there's lots of you know, lots of people from lots of different sections, and we all don't know each other and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, we are all showmen, you know, and really the biggest thing is for us, you know, to look after each other and to look after each other's mental health, you know.
I think Samantha, it's not an understatement to say that Sheldon works. I mean, you'll see it's a full-time job. I think you will work over full-time hours, and probably you and I do as
like
well.
2 or 3 people's work, yeah. And just about where you were saying about doing your doctorate, you know, the stats are really important. My day job is a data analyst in a university, and lots of decisions in public sector organisations need that data, because you know, you can't look at everything in great detail. So statistics are really important. You know, decisions might be made on those. There'll be probably some piece of a lot of evidence as well. And it also highlights where funding might go. And so, yeah, I'm guessing you'll need them for your funding bids that you've done as well. So,
yeah,
that's another really important thing that we need to make sure Sheldon keeps going with his doctorate as well.
Yeah, and people don't realize really how important that is sometimes, because, you know, it is really important to have those statistics, but in terms of funding bids, it's massively important, you know, in terms of getting support from the government and support from, you know, say the NHS, or from you know, a charity or trust that offer grants. It's really important for us to have that research, and to have really good research, you know.
Yeah, and then the other things, like you were saying before about, you know, the accounts and the report and all the policy writing that goes on. I know other trustees are involved in that as well, and also people that we employ, such as the accountants, such as lawyers.
Yeah.
But again, that's a really key thing, because you've got to submit those to the Charity Commission to make sure that we're allowed to operate as a charity. So
yeah, even stuff like the insurance for us to be able to have nurses, and working out, you know, that how that works as well. And you know, it just, and then it's about being able to have the open conversations, you know, in stuff like, you know, we I did quite a few conferences last year, and it's been able to have conversations with organizations that, you know, we're just about to start working with a cancer charity called Overcome, and I know Candace, you're also involved in this work, but it's just like they want to, you know, start talking about that conversation and how people support each other mentally, you know, with people who are diagnosed with cancer, you know, and that's, you know, really important to have organizations join you, you know, and work alongside organizations. You know, we're working really, really closely, and it's been an amazing relationship with the Crumpsall and Cheetham NHS, and we're going to be doing more projects with them this year as well, which is really exciting. And you know, we did a general we've been doing a general study at, you know, alongside Anglia Ruskin University, which is going to get us some statistics for general health as well. And people in Cambridge, really, really thankful to everybody who've been down there the last few days. That's why I'm so knackered. I'm absolutely knackered, because drove down there late Monday night after finishing teaching at the university here, and yeah, I've just walked in the door and turned up on the laptop and just sat down. I've just made a cup of tea, and yeah, so
well, do you know what? That's a really good sort of segue into the sort of work that we have been doing, actually, because again, it's about that awareness. And like I'm just guessing, but there might be people who think, oh, these two are this group of people that they're just doing so many education stuff, and it's one project after the other. And I think the reason, as much as we want to create awareness and we want to educate people on mental health, and that's a big part of sort of learning how to cope with mental health and developing strategies for your own mental health and supporting other people, as much as all the content's important, it's actually also really important when you're a charity to do sort of mental health stuff, in terms of educating on it and events for that awareness we're talking about, because people need to see that the charity is active, that it's engaging with the community, that it's meeting with people, and that's all very much part of sort of how you run things.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you trying to see if I'm on?
I was seeing
live?
if it was on, if it was still working, yeah, because I haven't been back on. Sorry.
No, it's fine. So listen, I was thinking, and I think the last time, or when we first started working together, was a sort of half a year into. So I think we've been working about a year and a half, and I think that we got working because there was a showman who you were working with, and they got us to have a phone call and just talk about options, or I think it was the Show Smart books. Do you want to explain those for anyone that doesn't know? I think Samantha, I can see she's got one on her back shelf. I think that was your sort of first roadway into education, wasn't it, for mental health?
Yeah, I mean, it's of course there's a complete difference between, you know, just talking about general education and education based around mental health. So the kind of Show Smart books were there to kind of celebrate this passed down knowledge, you know, that we have, and that's very valuable and very, you know, it's very substantial for us. But basically, for us to be able to use that knowledge then for good mental health, you know, how we use that, and we kind of came up with, you know, a little motto: show head, show heart, show smart, and it's all about, you know, that relationship between, you know, the head and the heart and the body, and how we kind of translate the education that we have ingrained in us from being a showman to education around mental health. So that's kind of where the Show Smart kind of education project came in. And we, you know, we have you got a book there, Samantha? We got a book.
Yeah.
There's one of the books, and that was
I think it's put in reverse.
Oh, there it is. Yeah. So yeah, that was kind of segue into them looking at how we engage Showmen into looking at mental health, not only mental health just generally, but mental health within the fairground industry. And we did all these amazing projects with yourself, Candace, and Epic Assist. Yeah, so as you can see, just like last year, we did psychological first aid training, women's mental health, men's mental health, suicide awareness and prevention, and managing, I can't get my words out, managing difficult behavior. Put your teeth back in, Sheldon. So basically, yeah, and these workshops were on every last Thursday of the month, and it was just really great to have that space to be able to come together online and meet lots of new people and see, and just kind of be able to share and learn really about mental health.
Yeah. And I would say as well, what was really nice is that this is something that Epic Assist has done in Australia for 30 plus years, and it's something that we're doing here with lots of different organisations. But when we started working together, I think the appeal is that we were both showmen. We were both from the community, and we felt that we could tailor these projects around like the community's sort of needs and identity. So when we went through the different materials that Epic had been using with other communities, we were able to say, right, well, we could add images of community members, we could use our own language, we could say things like shifting day or pulling down, or we could talk. And we also, when you had the little examples of, you've seen it in other workshops, like Sally is on her way to the shops. Like we were able to say, right, well, no, in this example, it's better to say like a traveler's name is on her way to open the kiosk or the candy. So we really made them so that they were by us, for us, to talk about our own sort of relationships to mental health and things that's unique that we experience with mental health, which I think was really nice. And especially the psychological first aid one, because there was a few people attended that had actually said, I feel like I'm equipped now, like I would be for the physical first aid, to help someone if they're struggling on a ground, whether it's a community member or whether it's a customer that's on the ground that's maybe struggling with something. And I think that, again, that came under the sort of managing difficult behaviour thing. It was like, well, how do we talk about alternatives to, maybe we've been on grounds where there's a fight that started or there's a bit of trouble or whatever else, but maybe we need to start to see that potentially the person involved in that's actually a person struggling that's maybe acting out. And it was really nice. Samantha, what's been your impression of them? Like, have you felt like they've been quite a good thing? Or?
I do, yes. I'm a mental health first aider or a mental health champion within my workplace as well. So in a university setting, I have more contact with colleagues rather than students, but I'm on campus, so I will come across students as well. And so it reflects very much the kind of training and workshops that I go to as part of my employer's provision. But then the fact that they are bespoke and tailored for the Showman community with the examples that you've given, it gives you that balance of, yes, this is formal training done by people who really know what they're doing and have been doing it for many years, but also by people who understand the nuances for the Showman community.
Yeah, and I think what was good about that as well is that because we were community members, I felt like Sheldon, we did share our own experience and be able to say, well, when this happened to me, and one of the things that came through in the mental health awareness are the things that we look at is empathy and being able to empathize. And part of that is being able to sort of be vulnerable, but vulnerable in a good way, not because I think the word vulnerable, sometimes people see it as a negative, but be willing to open and share your story because you don't know who that might reach. And I think, Sheldon, when you've had all those videos from community members early on with the charity, that's we knew that sparked the conversation between more and more people because it allowed them to share their story, which meant somebody felt comfortable talking about what things that happened with them.
Yeah, no, definitely. And, just creating that safe space as well for us to be able to share is really important as well. We often struggle, throughout our life, and we can feel isolated and alienated, and being able to come to something where people have had similar experiences and be able to talk about, what's it like in therapy? What is it like? Is it, is it because, let's be honest, anybody who's ever been to therapy for the first time, I don't know if they're like me, but I was absolutely petrified, Oh, what are they going to say to me? What do I say to them? What they're going to do to me? It's really daunting, and just being able to go, oh my God, therapy changed my life. Therapy changed my life. Doing mindfulness and therapy and exercise is how I managed to, get over my anxiety and get out of depression and balance my mind, and these are what I do, and these are the tools that I use, not only learning, from what's clinically advised, and of course a psychologist designed all these as well, through Epic as well, with you, Candace, as well, and what was his name again, the psychologist as well that you work with?
You've put me on the spot because it's late in the evening. Move on, Sheldon, and I'll look it up. I'll come back to that one.
That's fair enough.
I want to say Alistair, but that's someone else. 2 minutes.
So yeah, it's those experiences as well, like, yes, I can talk about having anxiety and depression and having ADHD. It's about being able to go, and these are how I deal with that, and what I use to transform that anxiety and depression, and this is how I used to transform, and that's my story. Or, Samantha might have a different story, or, somebody else might have a different story. And it's, not everybody is the same. Everybody has their own experiences.
People can share, can't they? Like you say, like both Candace and I went to the women's, well, obviously we were part of the women's mental health workshop, and the way the ladies all very openly shared, and we had a really good conversation. Everybody was swapping tips as well, weren't they? It was a fantastic session, was that.
Yeah. Because we also talked about sort of menopause, which some people might think is more of a sort of physical health situation, but it's very much not. It really affects your lifestyle and your well-being, and just your day-to-day and just your mental health. And I mean, I did know that, but there are people who don't realize that it's connected to behaviors. They just assume, I think younger people perhaps, maybe, because I think that was the thing, that even as some of you were talking about it, and I'm not quite at that age yet, I was kind of like, really? Is it? Does it? And I looked these things up, but it's very different when you actually get in a room and you share an experience. Grant Thompson's his name.
Grant Thompson.
I looked it up there. A lovely, very intelligent, very clever man who's worked with me before, and I should have remembered Thompson because it's not far off Thomas. So apologies, Grant.
I think with the other workshops that we've run as well, where people are sharing, even though people are different and may have had a slightly different experience, you also have similar. I can remember in some of the workshops people telling a story about something that's happened to them or something in their family, and thinking, oh yeah, that's like what happened to so and so. And within my family and my friends as well, so part of them are from the Showmen community, and it makes you feel less alone.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And I think just helps you with like coping. So this is one of the things that we talk about in the workshop. I just pulled out something just to use as an example. We talk about risk factors. And some people, so a risk factor is something that happens across a person's lifetime, and it can pull them in different directions. So it's like a stressor to circumstances. Something goes wrong in your life, and it can you can be walking around happy as Larry, and then something happens and it can really affect your mental health. And some of the things that Showmen have shared that you maybe wouldn't get from any other mental health workshop is an accident on the ground, or an accident when you're shifting to another place, or maybe even experiencing a loss and being on a ground and having to shift leave your loads where it is to go back to the yard, to like things that sort of very unique to us. And like you say, people were sharing them. And I mean, some other risk factors as well could be just financial things, relationship breakdowns. These are all things that can just sort of come out of the blue. And there are protective factors that people shared with one another to try and overcome them, to help them cope. So some of them, just simple steps that we would recommend are sort of eating healthy diet and eating regularly. Again, what you put in your body, and so your body's the thing that carries around your mind and keeps it right, and the two things play off each other. So being healthy body, healthy mind is a really big thing. And then again, really getting into a sleeping pattern, trying to sleep for 8 hours a night and avoiding sort of losing and then catching up on sleep. Draw up an activity schedule. So when you're having negative thoughts, sometimes the best thing to do is to sort of acknowledge that they're negative, not try to overcome them in a way, because I think sometimes you get into a spiral. I think it's okay to just acknowledge them, but then think about or do other things and keep track of it all with a diary as well. And then increasing your social contact. So I've got here that sometimes it's hard when you're struggling with depression or if you're socially anxious to get out the door and get talking to people, but actually if you could make yourself at least once a day text someone, just say, hiya, how are you? Couple messages back and forward, just be in contact with people. It's a big thing. And then talk to someone you trust as well. So yeah, we say that obviously you can get in touch with the charity, but we want to get to a place where even more so we're supporting one another and we feel we have the skills and the knowledge and understanding to support somebody that's living next door, rather than it be a bit of a taboo and just keep yourself to yourself. And we want to get past that, because I think we're at a point where we want to be talking and supporting people.
I think it's really important to just draw some things out of there as well. Of course, sleep patterns really affects the brain, and how our mood is generated. Like you say, scheduling and making sure that routine is a massive part of your life as well is really important. Having structure. But there's been numerous studies done on negative thoughts, and we always talk about kind of this negative thoughts. They often say everybody experiences intrusive thoughts or negative thoughts. In cognitive behavioral therapy, they call them NATs, negative automatic thoughts. But basically, these could be just drawn upon anything. It doesn't have to be that you're suffering with a mental health condition. But not only that, there's studies been done. They reckon people have 3,000 to 4,000 thoughts a day. Some other studies say there's 30,000 to 50,000 thoughts a day. But all we know is, if those thoughts are predominantly negative, it can really affect the way we navigate life. So how do we kind of shift that? And how do we accept that thoughts are just thoughts and feelings are just feelings? It's really difficult when people say it like that. It's really difficult to kind of go, oh, well, how is that right? Because a lot of us have internal monologues and we talk to ourselves in our heads and have that relationship with ourselves, and it's quite there's lots of taboos around different things as well. But just so having negative thoughts is normal, and don't worry too much. Talk about negative thoughts, and it's okay not to feel okay all the time. I mean, and even stuff like suicidal thoughts as well. Suicidal thoughts are can be normal, and but it's something that you need to talk about. Really importantly, to talk about that and why you're feeling like that. And it's don't be scared to open up about those thoughts. And it's really important, if you're ever experiencing negative thoughts for a prolonged period, then please talk to somebody. May that be through the charity or to a friend or just to anybody. It's okay to have negative thoughts, but if that happens for 2 weeks straight, 2 weeks straight every day, and there's no positive thoughts, and you in a real negative mindset, it's okay to share. Sorry, I just really needed to get that in there, because people really worry about the thoughts that they have. and they really, really worry and you know, and they get concerned, you know, about, you know, different things. And one of the things is really common with anxiety, say just normal anxiety, you know, that the mind shoots to the, you know, to the future, and you worry about everything, or the mind shoots to the past, and you know, it can bring up, you know, the past and maybe what you felt in the past. So it's really important to, yeah, definitely talk, but on the, to know that having negative thoughts is normal, and you know, not to be afraid of sharing them, because I don't know about anybody else, you know, who's been stuck in a traffic jam before, but negative thoughts are definitely normal, you know.
100%, and thank you for going into that, because that was like a little snippet or a little thing we could see of the workshops, like a wee taster, just to see the kind of things that we talk about and do, and what you've just done there. And then if we had lots of time, Samantha would go, I would go, and anyone involved would just talk and share, and that's perfect. And yeah, they've been one of our sort of longest standing things we've done together, you would say. And at the end of it, we do give people a certificate of completion, which is really nice, and you can collect them. And I think what's good about that is that, especially with the psychological first aid, it's another thing that you can put in with your paperwork to say that you've been involved in, like if you're running grounds, or if you're trying to get a ground, to mention that you've done this training. It's another thing to show that you're sort of investing in your community, and you're working on making your fairs like a safe space for people as well. But yeah, so that's the first and sort of the main thing we did together, and the longest standing, the mental health awareness trainings for adults. And Nev went on for the full time, really, of working together. But one of the very first things we did, and it was during a lockdown, actually, wasn't it? Or was it during a lockdown, or this third lockdown, or we had that many lockdowns? But we'd done a version of Epic Assist's International Youth Project, and we tailored that towards young people within our community, the Showmen community. So we talked about mental health and well-being, social media and cyberbullying, which was really important, because I think social media is actually could be quite detrimental to people's mental health, especially young people. There's pressures with, and yeah, we've done body image and self-esteem within that. And it was really good to just get them talking, and especially a lot of the reason why we've done the International Youth Project was people were stuck indoors, young people that should have been socialising and meeting people and sort of getting out and doing it that way. So you can see here that we had a mindfulness session. There's Sheldon there doing a bit of meditating. And we had a yoga session within the fitness that was great. And then we've done a lot of like games and workshops, and just give the young people a chance to talk. And I mean, it was quite well attended. I think each session we had at least like 8 or 9 people, and we tried to get about 10, at the very maximum 15, because obviously on a Zoom it gets busy. But what did you think, Sheldon? Was that a nice way to start working together?
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed the you know, the Epic International Youth Project, just because, you know, you get to understand how amazing showman minds are at all ages, you know, like the ideas that were just coming up, and you know, the just the way that young showmen conduct themselves and stuff like that. It's just really, it just made me really proud. You know, that kind of made me really proud, and it was a really great workshop to kind of start with for me, you know, and being able to, you know, talk about mindfulness and yeah, well-being in that space as well, and doing yoga, and you know, all amazing things for the, you know, the mind and the body as well. So yeah, it was just really great, and yeah, I really enjoyed that one. Definitely.
Yeah, it was, and it was nice. And I think a lot of charities felt this. It was nice to see what you can do online, because it was like, right, well, it's all we can do, so let's figure it out. And just the access you can get, especially obviously with traveller showman kids, they're traveling around everywhere. So maybe sometimes online stuff, and even if it's just through social media, is how you do access young people. And then from that, we went on and we had our first big sort of in-person project that was brilliant. We had umpteen different partners that, and like other, mainly showmen, but other different people as well, who came and like delivered services, and we had volunteers, and we had, so I'm trying to think of all who we had involved. We had Fair Scotland, Travel Pride, all these different partners. And we had Mitch Miller, who talked about his dialectograms, which is his sort of large maps. He's done them for like yards, and these are sort of maps that talk about space, place, and story. So people's stories, and gives you an idea of a culture or a community based on these maps. And he talked about illustrating The Show Must Go On, the really nice little book that he did. And actually, you'll see in this video here, that was not video, sorry, the very first image where the young people are like on the ground doing all of this, that Sheldon done a drama workshop that was really, really good. People enjoyed, and we had Joe Warren Plant from Emmerdale. He was he's a showman, obviously, and he was brilliant in it, wasn't he? He was getting everybody going.
Yeah, so, it was to have it in person was really important, you know, and you know, it really it was the first one that we did, really, that we kind of thought, right, what will this space look like, and how will people engage in this space, you know, and what will the outcomes be, you know, and one of the amazing outcomes that came from that is, you know, NHS England, specifically the let me get this right now. It's gone out of my mind. It's late, isn't it? Basically, we got invited then from this to speak at an NHS England conference, which was, you know, kind of the first step to talking to, you know, different people from the NHS, which is, you know, really important as well for progression as well for the charity. But not only that, like, what was the outcomes like? How did people react to the different things that were going on? And, you know, from and I know that we had a few different people come down as well, you know, people like Kenneth Bird, who is the chief executive of the European Opera Centre, who then, you know, we will go on to this, I'm sure, but then we were able to do a project in Newcastle because he came down to this project for the first time and just really loved working with Showmen. You know, that's just, it was just amazing, really.
Yeah, and it shows what we were talking about earlier. You have to be out there doing stuff for one thing to lead to the other, and you have to be active. And I think what was nice about this one as well, we were like, so what way should we do it? And we're like, we'll do it every way. So we had about 10 sessions on all different topics. So we were doing art, we were doing sort of awareness of mental health, we were doing some physical activities, we were talking about sort of education, we really went everywhere with it. And we also talked a lot about history and culture, which I loved. So we had Fair Scotland there, and we had a gonk making workshop. We had Traveller Pride, so we got people thinking about how they're proud to be part of the community. And then also we had the National Fairground Archive, which was, to me, was a real treat as somebody that loves history and heritage, because they brought so many great materials, and they even had like a TV screen up where they showed you their exhibitions that they'd had and how that had been set up, and some of their archive they brought with them. So that to me was an absolute treat. And what we've done is we had it in the Radisson Blu, which is just outside the ground at Leeds. So we had one area that was like an exhibition space where we had lots of documentaries and things playing, plus these exhibition tables and workshops. And then we had a separate space where we actually did live projects. So yeah, what was lovely about it, really, really nice, was that a lot of people, even though they couldn't stay the whole time because they're all open and we knew that, was able to come in, get a feel for it, see it. And probably it's one of the first times that they actually got to be in the room with someone from the charity and get a sense of what the charity could do. And that was really important.
Yeah, we have to thank the lessees of the ground as well, you know, of that ground for, you know, accommodating us as well, you know, and everybody who all showmen really who support the charity, you know, we're always thankful for all the support, you know, from everybody really, you know, and it's really important to kind of, you know, emphasize that, because it you know, it is funded by Showmen, you know, so.
Massively, and even apart from, I think, one of the or two of the workshops, all of the practitioners volunteered their time. They found funding, or they found a way of being able to get there and support. And even if it was in terms of recording a video pre-recorded and setting out tasks, but even the cost of like the materials, like a lot of it was all donated, and it was donated by community members. So I think, again, we're just very lucky to have the community we've got, aren't we? But off the back of that, then, just to say that we then managed to do the same event, I think in a really quick turnover. So in like 6 weeks, we've done the same event at Kirkcaldy, which again was the same idea. It was just in the Philip Hall off the ground. We had various different workshops, although we did have a lot of that was more tailored towards adults this time. And we had the census there, because we were at a stage where we were filling out the census. So we had Census Scotland attend. So we had a discussion of that. We had again the committee members from the guild of that section come and talk, and we actually had the police. We invited them to come and have a look, and because obviously we work really closely with them at Kirkcaldy and spend time talking with them. And it was great. It was just like a continuation of the last one, but we also done a lot of fundraising efforts with them on the ground, and we put on the kids' dance that year, so that was really nice as well. And again, lots of donations and things. So I'm going to just speed through the next couple, if that's all right, Sheldon, because we're just over an hour, and
yeah,
I don't want you to dip if you've had a long drive and a long day. So, and then I think we've all had one as well. So what we then did after that project, and what was nice with this one, Sheldon, was we didn't just have showmen. Well, you explain it, because it was a bit of everything, wasn't it?
Well, basically, like I say, from the Leeds project, with the chief executive of the European Opera Centre, Kenneth Bird, came down because he's a friend of mine back from when I studied at Liverpool Hope University. Then we both put it in a funding bid. Basically, the European Opera Centre put in a funding bid to work with the Showman community and the charity. And they won that funding bid, and basically then were able to go to schools throughout the south of Liverpool and train showmen, what they call animateurs or facilitators, and then basically train them ready to do a project based on the Little Vixen opera. I don't know if that's by Wojciech, but I can't remember now who the composer person was. I'm getting all muddled up even saying that. So basically, then we did a project at Newcastle that was done by all showman facilitators. Were all there, so we trained showmen to put on the basically project for showman children that was based around the Little Vixen project. And Little Vixen is all about kind of the just about life, isn't it? It's sorry.
No, I was going to say I've got a little clip I could show people, but you're right. It's a bit like the circle of life, and it's about the forest, and it's like really tailored towards kids. It's really nice.
Yeah, but it also has that kind of relationship with mental health as well. Really, making sure that we look after each other and all this kind of thing. It's really important.
Yeah, so I'll play this for just a wee second.
I don't know if the
Can you hear it?
Gracious me! He's so gorgeous! He's so gorgeous! I hope I didn't scare you!
Quite interesting as well.
What a beautiful starry night!
What you saying, Sheldon?
Sorry. just saying it's quite interesting as well. Like basically, what was fascinating about the project is it just made you really proud to be a showman again, because the Showman children created something really great, something really great from that, from that as well. And this kind of went on to get, press coverage, of course, our Joe was involved in this project as well again. And he's always been a real great advocate for the charity's work as well. I'm getting a bit of a
No, it was great. So I'll play this now. Sorry.
Well, we have been working with the European Opera Centre and the Showmen's mental health charity with the kids at Barlow School to perform the story of the cunning little vixen. I myself am one of the drama teachers, along with the other 3 disciplines. We've got art, we have production and music.
Emmerdale actor Joe grew up working on the fairgrounds, and with support from the Arts Council, the production are working alongside the Showmen's mental health charity, an organisation founded and run by people from the fairground community.
It's very much a student-led project, but we're just here to help cooperate with the kids and help drive them in the right direction.
The project was devised by the Liverpool-based European Opera Centre with Barlow's Primary School in 2018. The children are shown the animated opera film The Cunning Little Vixen before they create their own version. They spent a week creating every element of the production and learning all about how to devise an opera, from the scripts, music, props and costumes. The kids at Barlow's Primary have devised it all.
So this, I hope, opens up the world of opera. They're too young at the moment to go to the opera, but perhaps later in life they could just think, yeah, I'll try the opera. We created an opera when I was 9 or 10. Why shouldn't I go to the opera? So it is breaking down the barrier in the arts.
Every single one of them has thrown themselves into it and they love it. And even talking to the parents last night, we had like a parent workshop so they could come in, talk to the children, see a little bit of the show. And that was really good. And even the parents were saying their kids are coming home and just saying how excited they are for the show.
So obviously that was lovely, wasn't it? And that's when we had the Showman facilitators learning in the other school. And I think one of the things that was nice from that as well is that we now have the Showman's Theatre Company, which obviously it was young, talented showmen sort of actors and performers who I think would have gone on to do that anyway. But it was
their finger. They can have the best of both worlds with Quizingo.
Sorry about that. But it was nice that again, that was something else that we've seen come about sort of after that project and seeing young showmen working together.
Yeah, you see a trend with the projects, and I think that's the most amazing thing, that not only does it then, it impacts people's mental health, but also I've always been a keen advocate of the arts and health. So I don't know if many people might not know this, but my background, is in the arts and specifically applied theatre, and I worked a lot. So basically, I worked in places like care homes, working with people with dementia. I worked in addiction rehabilitation centres, working with people who are going through rehabilitation. I've worked in prisons, and all based around the arts and health. And of course, worked in colleges, primary schools, high schools, and the arts and health have a series, a really long relationship, and promoting health is massively done through the arts. And this is kind of what the European Opera Centre, value in what they did, what they value as well, and how they came to work with the mental health charity. because the arts and health it's a massive, it's a massive thing. You only need to be having a bad day and you stick on, Friends or The Office or something. It's a form of, art or film, or you listen to music, or you do these different things. It's proven to change the cognitive function. So, and it's really important that not only was this project done, it was backed up by research. Okay, so what's the research? We had a social scientist come and evaluate this research, and it shows that specifically doing this project, children are able to learn better, are able to open their creative minds, are able to work together as a group, but also coming back to the biggest thing that we are trying to, get across is empathy. Build empathy, it's a massive thing, and building empathy, not just for, older showmen, but all showmen of all ages, so it's a massive thing. That empathy is everything, I believe truly should be led through empathy. Being able to understand another person's situation, another person's life, another person's experiences, and how we interact with that other person. We see it all the time. We see it all the time. May that be in life in general, or on social media or whatever. People sometimes are really kind of, it can be really difficult when empathy is not shown, and people don't understand that by saying something like this it'll upset somebody else, or by acting like this it'll upset somebody else, or actually, like you say, go back, is that person not open on time because they are struggling with a mental health? So what do we do? Do we go, oh, you're late or whatever, or do we go, are you all right? Are you okay? What's going on with you? It's collective empathy, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And listen, so just we'll move on and we'll do 5 minutes for last but not least, the mental health liaison also training, but just to show these lovely photos. The kids had a brilliant time. Like they made all their own costume sets and learned how a couple of them really took to the instruments, and it was a lovely day, wasn't it? And then they got to perform it the day after, or was it 3 days?
It was 3 days. It was 3 days of working, and yeah, they performed at the end. So it was really great, and yeah, they learned so much. The only downfall for me for this project is I didn't get to work on it, really. I because I was splitting my time between Newcastle and Cambridge, where I was doing research. Like, I didn't get to get involved in the workshops, but I did help plan them all, which was really great. But seeing the end performance was just amazing.
Brilliant. And they had a really different take on it. Well, every school does, every group did, didn't they? And they decided they want to do one on KFC and finger licking chicken good, and it was doing all the, where they got their creativity, like that, where they got it from. It was dead funny. It was good.
Not only that, we saw some of them really excel with just picking up an instrument for the first time. That was like really, it's really great. It was a great project. And yeah.
So one of the children that was there was a 4-year-old, and he sat for nearly a full session and drew this image, and it was excellent. It was so clever. And then afterwards we spoke away to the parent, and they were like, well, it should be his dad sprays all the machines. And it just showed you as well that there must be something in Showmen that's creative, or a genetic thing, because this drawing of this turtle, I mean, I don't know if it was necessarily involved in the Little Vixen project, but it was the best turtle I've seen from a 4-year-old. And it shows, yeah, there's something there passed down, some skill, and just reminds you how talented showmen are as well. So anyway, lovely project. And last but not least, Sheldon and I had the privilege of training all of the Showmen's Guild's mental health liaison officers, and that's a collaboration between the guild and your charity, and a way for people to access services through a designated liaison officer in each section.
Yeah. And it was an idea that I had a little while ago, and it's always about capacity building and how we capacity build. But not only that, how do we get more people on the ground, like talking to people, and how do we get more people involved to, you know, kind of spread the word, and how do we get more people trained so people know they can go to them if they need any help. So the mental health liaison officer is basically a go-to person within the guild setting who people who Showmen can go to, and they will direct them directly to our mental health nurse. So that's it's a way that we, you know, and we will continue to do this, and there's been more things coming up soon. And actually, you know, it's really great. It was a really great day to be in a room full of showmen talking about mental health, and all be there with the same kind of goal, and that's to support each other, you know. And yeah, I was, you know, really thankful for everybody that volunteered for that, and who continues to volunteer for that, you know.
Because it was a heavy going day. It was exhausting. So we arrived in Birmingham early in the morning, and nobody was sort of able to leave till I think about 5 o'clock. And we provided lunch, and we had materials you'll see here on the folders, nice material packs and things made up. And then all of the different mental health workshops we talked about earlier, which would have went on over a 6-month period, we just put them all into the one day, plus a lot of training activities that we either designed, or there's things that we do within Epic in other places for other organizations. And one of the things that was brilliant, you can see the image on the sort of bottom left, was we done triad sessions. So we practiced what it might be like and what the best way to go about a crisis call. If you get a phone call from somebody who's struggling and you need to direct them to the charity. So we got our acting skills out, didn't we, Sheldon? You can see me there, very dramatic. But trying to sort of simulate a real life situation, just to give people a bit of practice, because obviously we'll leave it on this, and I think we can leave it on another, we can maybe mention something nice and positive at the end. But Sheldon, you must get a lot of phone calls from people who are struggling, and even though it's difficult, it must be really rewarding to help people.
Yeah, and it's kind of it's you know, when somebody comes through and they're struggling, it's really important for that conversation to be handled with care, respect, and empathy as well. And for people, you know, to go to these liaison officers, that's how, you know, that conversation should go as well, you know. And that's kind of what the whole kind of training was based around as well. How we respect, you know, each other, how we get people to the right place that they need to be, and how we, you know, we get them the support. But also, you know, how we then go, right, well, now we've helped somebody, how do we help ourselves? So now we've finished, we've helped somebody get to the nurse. What do we do now to help ourselves? And how do we look after our own mental health now? Sorry. So that's all things that, you know, you have to think about. And of course, the packs are there, and there's simple kind of step-by-step process as well for that kind of come about. And I had to sit down and think about that, because no one conversation is the same. You know, no one person is the same. Different people struggle from different things, you know. So how do we, you know, go about, you know, making sure that the guide and the step-by-step is, you know, for everybody, you know. And yeah, it's really good. And, you know, we are really thankful for those people as well, and we'll continue, like we say, to build on that. And as the organization, as the charity grows, of course our capacity will grow, our staff will grow, and that's the aim really now, is this year now to, hopefully we'll get some government funding, we'll be able to employ people full time, we'll be able to kind of be able to get the service even faster. And it's, well, not even faster, but just keep building. It's hard to get faster than 2 weeks, I'll be honest. A lot of the time it's a week, and it's in the same week people are contacted. Like we work really fast. And I just need to say a big thank you to Sarah as well, our main mental health nurse, and she does such incredible work, and I'm really, really thankful to her, for everything that she's done with the charity as well. Sarah's she worked with the NHS for 12 years. She was manager of a private clinic as well, and she's just really great. She's really great. And and just to kind of emphasize one thing, okay, the charity, okay, everybody that comes through the charity straight to the nurse, and how we work, is always private and confidential. And it's massively important that we protect each other mental health, and keep that privacy and confidentiality. So never ever sharing any information ever, and that's massive. That's a massive thing, and legally binded to that as well. That's a legal obligation. So yeah, it's just been amazing. I'm sorry, I'm getting a right tickle in my throat. I'm feeling a bit gammy now, to be honest. So I think I'm ready for bed. Yeah,
we've all done really well, and I think it's a good place to stop. But I just want to thank the two of you for the work that you've done for our community and continue to do, and how hard you've both worked. And just, it's been an absolute pleasure partnering up with the two of you and every other partner that we've got. And we know that we're sort of built a little network now of people to do good projects and raise awareness with. And I'm just really thankful for the show's mental health and getting to work with the two of you and your other trustees. So thank you for the opportunity from us. And yeah, just you do amazing work for people.
No, and thank you very much also. And I think one of the things, we probably haven't said all the organizations we work with on that, because I don't know who we've said now and who we've not said or whatever, but it's just really important to just say thank you to everybody, all the organizations, all the individuals, all the people who have raised any money for the charity ever, all the people who's had coffee mornings, put a video on, doing 100-mile runs, auctioning off different things. Just Showmen are incredible people. I'm very proud to be a showman, and very, very important, that we, have that, real understanding of, the importance of that, and sharing that collective empathy, such a powerful thing. So thank you so much. And I'm going to get to bed, I think. Yeah. I'm absolutely shattered. So
thank you, Samantha. Have you any last thoughts before we go?
Not thoughts as such, because I'm fading fast too, but just it is always a pleasure to work with you two, especially. I've enjoyed this evening, as I always enjoy the mats that we do as well. And yeah, I'm also very proud to be working with the charity as a volunteer and as a trustee. So yeah, onwards and upwards.
Really, exactly. So
and finally, I just think happy Showman's Mental Health Week. This is the first kind of week that we're having like this, and it's been really great. There's been lots of organizations and that who's really kind of pushed it, including people like the Queen's Nurses Institution, public engagement, yeah, just thank you. I'm sorry, I'm knackered.
Brilliant. I think what we'll do is we'll say good night to everybody now. Thank you for watching this evening. Please do get in touch with any of us anytime you need anything we can help with. We're here. Good night and goodbye. Okay, so that's the end of our second YouTube video. You got to watch a live and you got to see Sheldon and Samantha and all the good work we've done this year. Hope you enjoyed it. Please, if you did, like, share, subscribe. You can comment. You can ask us questions on it as well. And yeah, have a good week. Take care.